Hello.
Everybody. It is Marcia and Michelle, and we are back for our March edition. Is it an edition, session, episode,
Episode. That
whatever?
sounds good. Sounds more
Ghostly Gab
professional.
and Random Thoughts. Well, we don't want to sound professional, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Why start now?
yeah, now is not the time. So I want to say hello to those of you that are hanging out with us here this evening. We know there are so many other things you could be doing on Friday night besides hanging out with us, just talking about ghostly things. Our topic this evening are the lesser knowns.
Yes.
Yes. And the lesser knowns are those ghost stories or those locations that you might not be as familiar with as you are some of the others.
Correct.
And yeah, so we're gonna share some of that with you this evening, and hopefully you have not heard of any of these places. If you have any friends or family you think might be interested in what we're talking about, if you wouldn't mind sharing us out, because the more the merrier, we say. I want to
Absolutely.
say thanks to our military, like we always do. Without you, we could not do what we do. We appreciate your sacrifice every day. Um, Same thing with our men and women in blue. We support you. We fly the thin blue line flag. Thank you for what you do, for putting your life on the line every day for us. Now, before we get started, I wanted to tell you about our latest adventure. We went, was it last week, Michelle? Last weekend, I think,
2 weeks.
2 weeks ago. We went to the old Franklin County Jail in Iowa. We were only, I think, the third or fourth team that's been in there to investigate that. So we were pretty excited about that. We did post we had a really good necrophonics session upstairs in the women's cell. So I did post that out on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't had a chance to go check that out, go check that out. I do have a link on our Facebook page for those of you that follow us on Facebook. It was interesting. The jail was very small,
Yes.
pretty much like all the other old jails that we've been to. That built in the 1800s, they were very, very small. I will say, though, that I thought, and Michelle, I haven't even shared this with you, I thought we caught something on video.
Well,
So,
that narrows it down. Something.
well, I'm going to tell you what that something is here in just a minute, and you all get a chuckle out of this, I have a feeling. So we spent the night. It was Michelle and I, Dawn and Christy. We spent the night, and our accommodations were actually the cells, right? We had
Yep.
to sleep on the cell, the cots in the cell.
Yes, cells
So
1 and 2.
cells 1 and 2. And Michelle and I were in cell 2 because that's supposed to be the more active of the cells. So, of course, as I'm watching the video, because I let the video run through the night. So, of course, Michelle and I were in there sleeping, and I thought I caught something, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I thought, oh my God, there is a critter of some kind getting up on my bed.
Oh, as long as it was your bed.
Yeah, it was my bed. Down at the end of my bed, and it went on for like 20 minutes, right? It started at 4:00 in the morning, and it went on for 20 minutes. And I thought, oh my God, there's some kind of an animal trying to get up on my bed. But you could see just something peek up over the bed and then peek back down. And I thought, what in the world is that? It turned out to be my foot coming out of the cover. I was moving my foot because every time I noticed that every time this critter peeked up over the bed and then came back down, my foot moved, right? Well, yeah, it was me. So anyway, just saying. So, for those of you that have joined us, if you don't mind throwing a hey you in the chat so we know who's with us. We see that Becky is with us and Linda. Thank you so much, ladies. We know there's tons and tons and tons of things you could be doing besides hanging out with us. All right. For those of you that have just joined us, oh, wait a minute here.
Hey, Christy.
Hey, Christy, I just saw you come on. My machine's doing crazy things here. Hello, Irena. I'm not even going to attempt the last name. Thank you so much. Can I call you Irena L? Is that okay? Do people call you that? Anyway, for those of you that have just joined us, our topic this evening is lesser known. We're going to be sharing with you some of those lesser known haunted locations that maybe you don't know about.
We didn't.
No, we didn't know. We hear a lot about, like, of course, Waverly Hills, Randolph County Infirmary,
Gettysburg.
Gettysburg, Mansfield, West Virginia
Allegheny.
Penitentiary. We hear about all of those places, but maybe you've never heard of these. Are you ready? Are you ready to learn a few things? Let's see if the technology will cooperate with us. I'm going to try to throw some pictures up here for you, because I didn't think you wanted to just like stare at us all night, but no. All right. So here's our first location. And some of you may be familiar with this. This is the I-4 dead zone in Florida, Interstate 4, right? Just north of Orlando, the highway passes over Lake Monroe. In the 1870s, real estate tycoon Henry Sanford marketed the southern shore of the lake to new immigrants and potential citrus farmers. And he sold 640 acres to a group of German immigrants. And they founded what was called the St. Joseph's Catholic Colony on the site, right? Well, turns out that he was a shyster. The land was absolutely worthless. It was swampy. They couldn't do anything with it. This colony of German immigrants, and I don't remember how many there were, but there weren't many. I'm going to say 20, 25 maybe. It wasn't a big colony, but anyway, they did the best they could, but ultimately they were not successful. But in 1887, they had an outbreak of yellow fever in the colony, and that pretty much wiped out several families. And the ones that were left, they buried, of course, the dead in the woods, and they left. Years later, here comes Florida buying up the land for construction of the new Interstate 4 highway. And the location was actually the location of the graves that was sold to the state. Now, where you see that little pin dropped, that's actually where the graves are. So Florida had marked the graves initially so that they could be relocated. However, they were never relocated. Nobody knows if they were forgotten about or if the state of Florida ultimately deemed that they were too important. But anyway, they were paved over, right? The graves were paved over. So this stretch of I-4 it's a quarter-mile stretch, and it's just north of Orlando on the St. Johns River right there. And the actual grave site is underneath I-4 in the eastbound lanes, just before you get to the south end of the bridge. So what's so scary about this, you say? Well, let me tell you. If you believe in coincidences, I don't know if you do, but 2 hurricanes, as well as a number of tornadoes, have hit this exact quarter-mile stretch through the years. Drivers, even today, and it has been going on for years, report that they lose cell signal and their radios turn off when they're driving through this patch as they're going over the bridge here. Also, drivers have reported actually hearing disembodied voices, hearing children laughing, hearing snarling and growling, and it comes through the radio. They lose their radio signal, but they get these strange sounds. They also claim to see ghost vehicles. They see vehicles that aren't there, and they see people in the eastbound lanes that aren't there. Now, it is the most deadliest stretch of highway in the U.S., and it's responsible for almost 2,000 accidents since 1963. And many of those accidents have been fatalities. So, what do you think of that? I have never been on. Have you heard of that, Michelle?
I have heard of that one, for exactly what you were saying, but didn't know exactly where it was at. I did know.
Yes.
I did not realize they did not move the bodies.
No, the
but I
graves are
knew
still
I
there.
had heard of it.
Yep, the graves are still there, underneath the pavement, of course.
Yeah.
I have never been there, but I kind of want to go. I mean, isn't that kind of creepy? I kind of want to go just to see if anything happens to the car. Do I lose cell signal? Do I lose radio signal? Do I see anything? I kind of want to go.
Why not?
So anyway, if any of you have ever been in that stretch, let us know. Just drop a comment and let us know if you've ever been in the stretch and if anything crazy has ever happened to you. All right.
Alrighty.
Here we go. Are you ready for our next one?
Yes.
Here we go.
Okay, so Dartford Cemetery. So this is located in Green Lake, Wisconsin. And I'm sorry, I just had a total blank. So the claims here, because that's kind of what I was looking for. I didn't look a whole lot at the history of it, but the main ghost is that of Chief Highknocker, a ho-chunk who died in 1911, but his spirit refuses to depart. There have been several reports related to a figure in full Native American dress has been seen strolling amongst the gravestones. Also in this area, occasionally former Civil War soldiers can be seen marching across the cemetery. And there really wasn't a whole lot else about that. I was looking at a couple of different sites. But some of the other folks that are here is the final resting place of the area's early pioneers, many children who succumbed to disease. And again, it's a legend centers around a mysterious old crypt with a crack in the roof. Supposedly, visitors claim to be pushed off the roof by spirits when sitting on the crypt. But I had not been able to find anything that said when this was established, if there's been any video evidence of these folks being pushed off or sliding off or anything like that. But there really wasn't a whole lot about it, but it was just very interesting that this is listed as one of the top 11 sites in Wisconsin to visit. And if you're wanting to go visit there, it's actually just on North Street in Green Lake, Wisconsin. And that is the short, quick background of this location.
So I'm just going to say that if you're sitting on top of the crypt, you ought to be pushed off.
Absolutely.
Because you got no business sitting on top of a crypt. I'm just going to say that.
No.
Okay. Our next location that you may or may not have heard of. This is the Levi Coffin House. It's in Fountain City, Indiana. And it's 2 stories, of course, about 8 rooms. And it was built in the 1838-39 time frame. The home was known as the Grand Central Station of the Underground Railroad because, first of all, its location. It was built where 3 of the, well, I guess it wasn't built then because the railroad wasn't. But anyway, the 3 escape routes to the north converged here where the house is, right? So that location, and the number of slaves who passed through it is how it got its nickname of Grand Central Station of the Underground Railroad. Now, the original owners were Catherine and Levi Coffin. They were Quaker abolitionists, and they were known to provide slaves with supplies and a safe place to stay. And during the 20 years that they lived there until 1847. It's believed that more than 1,000 slaves escaped to the north coming through their house. Now, the reason they were so successful is that the location of the house, which is on Highway 27, it was at the center of an abolitionist Quaker community. So the entire neighborhood acted as lookouts for the coffins and gave them plenty of warning time when the bounty hunters came into town. Now, they're not sure who haunts the home, but they believe, and it's got your normal voices, seeing shadow figures, doors opening and closing, footsteps, the normal claims. And they believe that it is slaves that came through there is what the general consensus is. So how many of you may or may not have been to the Coffin House? I had never heard of it, but
I'd never heard of it.
yeah, but I thought, ooh, maybe that's someplace we need to check out, because when we went to the Hamilton School in
That's exactly what I was
Otterville,
thinking of.
yeah, Otterville, Illinois, it was also like a major stop on the Underground Railroad. So yeah. All right, here we go. Ready for the next one? It's coming up.
Okay, so the Landers Theater. The Landers Theater is located in Springfield, Missouri, and it was built in 1909. It is the second oldest and largest civic theater operation in Missouri, and it has been in continuous use either as a legitimate theater or a movie theater since it opened. In 1928, facility in the world to acquire sound film. So there's some little bits of information there. And the Landers has seen plenty of performances in its day. And it also has a tragic tale to tell. A fire swept through the theater in 1920, killing one of the janitors. And then some years later, although I never really could come across an actual date, a baby fell from the balcony to his death. And guests to this day tell of seeing the janitor or hearing a baby cry. There's also been feelings of someone tapping them on the shoulder, turning, and nobody's there. The biggest thing is it is still in operation today. And that is the Landers Theater here at 311 East Walnut Street in Springfield, Missouri.
And that's not.
And I was excited to find out this, with you not knowing it.
Yeah, because that's what, 130 miles from here, from where we live. I had no idea. No idea.
And this actually was number 2 on the list that I found on onlyinyourstate.com.
Ooh, I'm going to have to look on that. Okay, we've got another cemetery coming up. This is the Silver Cliff Cemetery in Silver Cliff, Colorado. It was established in the 1800s. Of course, Silver Cliff was a mining town, like so many of those little towns were. Um, the reports here, which started in the 1880s and they continue today, um, visitors see dancing blue lights at night. And according to reports, it looks like blue lantern lights. So who knows? The cemetery is still in use today, and it's owned and operated by the town of Silver Cliff. Now, I will tell you that I just wonder. Um, y'all might remember, oh, was it last year or 2 years ago, Michelle? We went down and saw the Joplin spook lights. I
Yes.
wonder if this is kind of a similar thing. Because there have been lots of people and geologists and everyone investigating these blue lights at the cemetery, just like they did the Joplin spook lights, and nobody can figure out what in the heck they are. So I wonder, whatever is causing the Joplin spook light, even though it's white, might be a similar phenomenon that's creating these blue lights. Who knows? Who knows? All right. So when Michelle showed me this picture, I thought, ooh, I've been to this one. But no, I haven't.
No, and there's so many that look similar. So for those of you that think you may find this familiar, we're traveling to Pennsylvania. And let me tell you, it was really difficult to find something that was not surrounding Gettysburg. We've all heard about the different things with Gettysburg, but this is called the Green Man's Tunnel, and it's located in Bridgeville and South Park Township. Um, I'm not sure why they call it the Green Man's Tunnel, because it's also known as Charlie No Face. And the Green Man is said to have been an electrical worker who was in an accident that melted his face and killed him. His ghost has been seen near the site of the accident, which is thought to have occurred in one of the Pennsylvania Railroad tunnels. Um, his form has been seen in this area here. I did come across some videos on YouTube, but I did not watch them. But locals would report sightings of the glowing ghost of the Green Man. And that's what I have about that.
Well, I really thought when I first saw it, I thought, ooh, that's Moonville Tunnel in Ohio, because they
Oh,
all look the same. I mean, a railroad tunnel is a railroad tunnel. But
yes.
crazy things happen in railroad tunnels. I mean, as far as when you investigate them, because sound travels and it sounds different. And although
Yes.
I don't think I've ever seen a green ghost, but
Well, you've got blue lights. I've got green glowing ghosts.
So next on the list, and this is a place that I really would like to go. However, we have to get permission from the city mayor, and permission is few and far between on this because of the condition that it's in. Anyway, this is the Jemison Center in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And it was built, it was actually completed in 1939. So, as far as hospitals go, it's not really that old. Most folks think this was an insane asylum, but it was actually built as a school for boys with physical and mental disabilities.
Oh.
And it was used as a dorm style center, because very nearby is, oh my gosh, I forgot the name of the hospital. There's another hospital that's very nearby that is abandoned, and the two are often confused. But anyway, in 1970, the Jemison Center made headlines after a journalist from the Tuscaloosa News visited the facility, and he reported on the absolutely horrid conditions. He stated that most of the patients were highly tranquilized and appeared to have not bathed in days. All appeared to lack any semblance of treatment, and the stench was unbearable. So that was in 1970, and of course they closed it down for good in 1977. So I would like to go take a peek only because of the size and the history of the place. It's in really bad condition, but people do get permission to go in there. Um, we got to get it from the mayor or the city council. So I don't know. I guess maybe the next time we go through Tuscaloosa, we might check that out. All right. Next on our list.
Okay, now this one I was actually able to find an older picture. Um, this is Kel's Irish Restaurant and Bar. This is in Seattle, Washington. But apparently, this is a chain restaurant. I found out as I went back to try to double check a couple of our locations. But it is located in the Butterworth building, which was Seattle's first mortuary. So some of the things here is long before people would gather for a lovely evening out. It was used as a mortuary. Bodies were brought in and out of the building through the same doors currently used to enter the bar. Reports of seeing a man named Charlie in the mirror or a little girl sitting next to him at the bar or next to them. So if you're sitting there at the bar, you may see a little girl sitting next to you. Glasses are also known to slide to the floor when no one is around, and mirrors shatter with no impact. So there seems to be a lot going on. And this is at the Seattle, Washington location.
So my first thought was, why would a little girl be in a bar? But I guess depending on how old the ghost is, didn't years ago children go to, I know we went to bars with my parents.
Well, it was a mortuary also.
Well, yeah, there's that. Okay.
The bar, the restaurant and bar was actually founded in 1983. So I don't know when it stopped being a mortuary and started as, well, it started in 1983 as the pub, but I don't know what kind of space there was between the mortuary and this.
Okay.
I don't know.
So maybe she's coming from the mortuary side.
Yeah.
All right. And our final location for y'all this evening is this grand place.
Oh, this one is mine as well. And let me flip to my other page. So this is the site of Sweetwater County Library. It is located in Green River, Wyoming. And in 1892, so let me tell you a little bit about Green River. So in 1892, the established first cemetery. During the 1920s, the Civil Works Administration relocated the cemetery outside of the township to Riverview Cemetery in a mass exhumation. Years later, a veterans housing unit was built on the site as soldiers were returning from World War II. In the following years, construction, landscaping, and pipeline work unearthed forgotten human remains from the former cemetery site. The Sweetwater County Library is located on this site. So all those different facilities and such that facilities and such I mentioned were all built on the same site. In the early 1980s, abnormal occurrences were reported. They've seen so many things happening that they actually have a ghost log, and they record unexplained happenings in it. And this is a practice. This log is still in existence. It's available at the circulation desk, and they still add to it each time something happens. And that is the Sweetwater County Library.
Did you say
Green River.
Did you say that the claims started in the 1980s?
That's what this here, the claims started in the early 80s.
So you wonder what caused the activity to start then? You know, what was it about what was going on in the town or the library or whatever that caused it?
I'm wondering if that's when they actually built the library itself, because they had the construction and the landscaping, and that's when they found the body that had not been moved with the rest of the cemetery. So I think I'm not positive, but I think it was the building that was building the library itself.
Okay. All right, folks. So there you go. A handful of
Lesser
places that
knowns.
yes, lesser knowns, places maybe you didn't know about, maybe you did. I didn't know. I did know about I-4, but other than that, I didn't know about any of the others. So let me share with you, just because I can, our social media. Of course, you all know how to connect with us, right? We're like on everything. And then if you're so inclined to support us, you can buy Boo merchandise, or you can just give us money, whatever you want to do. Either way is fine. Or just share us out, tell your friends about us, that kind of thing.
And if there's something you want us to talk about on one of our ghostly gabs, send us a message.
Yeah, we've got a couple of good ideas coming up for this year. The final thing that I wanted to mention was our next hunt, because we are in the 2023 season. I don't have as many hunts scheduled this year. There's a lot of different things going on, but we are going to go to Farrar School. That's next week, I believe, next weekend.
Yep.
And frankly, we haven't been there. We haven't been there in 6 years. This will be our third trip, but we haven't been there in 6 years, which is kind of surprising, because that is where we captured what I think is the absolute best video evidence we have ever captured anywhere.
Correct.
And of course, you can find it out on our website or even on Facebook. If you look in our videos, it's called The Thing at Farrar. I don't know what it is. Michelle and I both saw it when it was happening. The two girls, Debbie and Leslie, down in the gym, they didn't see it while it was happening down there with them, but we could see it on the camera. It was the craziest thing ever. I'm not sure why we've waited 6 years to go back, but I'm excited about it. Let's see what else we can capture there.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So what else is going on, Michelle? Anything we need to share?
No, I think that pretty well sums it up.
Yep. Because we're moving kind of slow this season, but we've got some really interesting places that we want to go. So we'll just see if we can get into them. So anyway, again, thank you all for hanging out with us this evening. Like I said earlier, I know there's so many things that you could be doing on Friday night besides hanging out with the two of us, talking about ghostly things. So until next time, just say